हाँ वही तो
जिसमें कि साइंस है साइंस का बुक लिखी हुई है सो रहा है कितना चाहिए तीसरा वाला मशीन हाँ
ये सब बहुत अजीब है और आगे लाइफ फिजिकल आजकल इससे ज़्यादा कंपैरिजन में मुझे लगता है आजकल का बनना चाहिए इससे कंपैरिजन आजकल का आता है एडिशन आ जाए आजकल बहुत अच्छा है जैसे कंपैरिजन
मैं वो क्या करते हैं मैं एक्सप्लेन करते हुए बात जो तुम लिखोगे तो बात पूछ लेते तो बहुत ही समझ
हाँ लेकिन
ये होता है तो क्या करो जो फैसला स्टार्ट करिए और उस पूरी बुक पढ़ने वाला है
बहुत फास्ट लेके क्वेश्चन
आप एक भाषण में चल
भाषण में आई थिंक मुझे देखा है लैंग्वेज
चाहिए
स्लो लेते हैं पूरा समझना भी लेते हैं हर एक्सरसाइज का हर सब सॉल्व करें
ये नहीं करते हैं कुछ चीज करते हैं
सॉल्व करें कितना भी टाइम लगेगा
हमारा तो हो गया और कुछ पूरा हो गया
और समझना तो इसलिए भी आ रहा है
ठीक तो हमारा तो नहीं है
हाँ कल इसका इंटरेस्टिंग साइंस का
Yeah, बहुत हमारा केमिस्ट्री में क्वेश्चन तो हो गया लेक्चर के प्रोसेस
केमिस्ट्री 40 चैप्टर है
ये पर रिपीट हो रहा है अभी एक आ रहा है एक और
अभी बायो है हाँ सीक्वेंस
मैं सेकंड की
I think now कुछ issues है जैसे सेकेंड चेक कर लिया
एक अभी तो एक दिन में साइंस ही होता है मैथ्स ही होता है ये भी चाहिए
अभी डबल मार्क्स क्या है देख सकते
so already चलेगा
हाँ सिर्फ बायो और केमिस्ट्री के से इसमें देखना डायवर्सिटी भी है
ये चल रहा है
नाम को बोल नहीं लास्ट टाइम बोल
नहीं पीडी यूके टेस्ट में है
बट वो सीरीज के क्वेश्चन
हां सीरीज का एग्जाम में आएगा तो ड्यूटी
ये सी अगर स्कूल में से डायरेक्ट वाला है ना तो नहीं तो पढ़ाएंगे लेकिन अगर सीरीज में
पूरा सीरीज ही ले रहे हो
हां तो
मैं पढ़ा है
नहीं लास्ट टाइम नहीं पढ़ा
क्या पढ़ा
लास्ट टाइम तो टीचर्स का टेस्ट थे
वो नहीं करना चाहिए तो बोलना चाहिए
करके फायदा नहीं है
कोई फायदा नहीं Cbse को मैटर का समझना
मैटर का ये
एग्जाम में तो और एग्जाम का भी कुछ एक्स्ट्रा करते हैं ऐसे
मैंने पहले ही किया है
मैंने Cbse लेकिन एक बार दिया था मेरे को प्रेजेंटेशन में कैसे बोलना
उसके लेक्चर में जो बायो का बिल्कुल नहीं वो ऑल सब्जेक्ट्स हैं
नहीं तो बात सच
बाकी किधर
बाकी ऐसे को टीचर को तो ऑल है ये जो बस बुक्स खरीदे वाले असिस्टेंट
वो तो अलग ही है बराबर आज मैंने से बोला
वो आज लास्ट में जो
वो लास्ट में से आया उसके में बीमार हो गया तो एक आया
और जो फ्राइडे भी लगता फ्राइडे आया तो बर्थडे आया था
नहीं
बढ़ते क्या है?
मैंने से मैं एमबीबीएस की जानता हूँ जो तो टीमा में से चलती है
मुझे भी लगा है मुझे भी लगा चाहिए बड़ी मेरी बात
अगर मान लीजिए कि बोल आपके बोलेंगे कि ऐसे ही मिलाते रहेंगे
ऐसे तो ऑप्शन नहीं ले क्लास वो आई तो आई है लेकिन वो 10 मिनट लेती है पर वो 30 क्लास वो 30 क्लास हाँ उनकी प्रॉफिट क्यों they don't have any exams so now why they are remaining absent
and college is having pre-test tomorrow and the rest what is that I don't know what's going to happen
Covid is which one Covid is it
COVID thing
so now what we were studying we were supposed to start with the next chapter no you said
yes
diversity as of now we'll keep it on a hold in that case because we deleted serious students. It is deleted, some schools are still teaching. It is not in the, actually from the Cbse website, they are still not clear that whether it is fully deleted or not. Some schools have taken a course, some schools haven't. So that's why I'll keep it on a hold. Let's see what your school decides later, then we'll have to take it accordingly if it is getting your exam.
today we are doing natural resources
So today we are supposed to know what it is. Then in that case we are left with what natural resources and what natural resources and there's one. Why do we follow? No, improvement in food resources. Improvement in food resources and natural resources. No, only these two chapters actually. Why do we fall in? These two chapters are on a whole. So why do we fall in and diversity in that case? I'm not taking up right now. But now see if I want to start a new chapter, this all are absent today. So let us start with did your school had only talked about tissues right now, no?
yes
So in that case, improvement in food resources, that's a big chapter. So in that case, let us start with that again, improvement in food resources. Okay, so let us start with this. You have the volume with you? I have the volume because I thought you have the next volume. Can you just go and ask, go and ask about which volume is this? Go and ask me about volume 2. We can give one. Yes, we are hearing the right. Yes? Oh, good. That's it. So now let us start with this chapter, improvement in food resources. Improvement in food resources. First of all, we start with the word food. Improvement in food resources. So the first is, we talk about this word food and nutrients. So these two words, first of all, try understanding what is food. Food items, variety of food items. No? What is the meaning of the word food? Food means the variety of food items that we talk about, which may include crops, which may include grains, which may include variety of vegetables, no, any type of dietary products, anything, any type of an item that we can that is consumable. Food. Then what is the meaning of the word nutrients? What are nutrients? Nutrients are the chemical components. Again, remember what I say. Nutrients are the chemical components present in the food. So when I say, what is the meaning of the word nutrients? What should you understand by the word nutrients? Nutrients are chemical components, chemical composition of the food, the chemical components of the food. And these chemical components of the food can be in different types. What are the different types? They can be organic in nature, they can be inorganic in nature. When I talk about organic in nature, what does that mean? Organic in nature means they are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen majorly. Inorganic means I'm talking about that they may be having calcium, they may be having magnesium, they may be having sulfur, they may be having manganese, they may be having zinc, etc., etc. So now that we are talking about, yes, nutrients are of varied types. The type of nutrient in the bread, the type of nutrient in the rice, the type of nutrient in the apple, they are not the same. The one in the milk and the egg, not the same. No? So nutrients. Functions of food. What are some functions of food that we should remember? Functions of food. What could be, now if I ask you, can you tell me 3 functions of food? What would be 3 functions of food?
Provides energy.
Number 1, provides energy. Number 2,
Keeps us healthy.
Provides energy, okay, keeps us free from diseases. Some foods are protective, okay. So when I talk about some foods are helping in the process of repair and growth. Some foods help in the process of repair and growth. Some foods are protective in nature and protect from different type of diseases. What else? Some foods provide instant energy.
Yes.
What else? What else? Some foods also help in maturation. Some foods are also necessary for maturation of bones and muscles, especially bones and muscles. So this way, when we are talking about maturation of the bone, muscle, teeth, all these. So now that we are talking about what are food, what are they, what are their necessity? Why is it necessary to increase our production? Now that's a question, tick that. We will do, when I give you questions, you should be able to answer them correctly. Page 142, there's a question out there. Tick that in your volume. Why is it necessary to increase the production of food? Why is it necessary to increase the production of food? Now can you tell me that? When we are talking about both crops and livestock. What is the meaning of livestock? What is the meaning of livestock? When I say livestock, what is the meaning of that? Yes. Livestock मतलब क्या है? Livestock क्या है? Farm animals, no? Livestock. When I talk about livestock, that means we are talking about the goat and the sheep and the buffaloes and the cow and the other different type of cattle, and all this. So when we are talking about livestock, taking care of the livestock, and now that we are talking about crops, so when we understand food, these are the two sources, especially now we talk about livestock. Livestock means basically we are talking about animal food, no? Livestock, crops meaning we are talking about plant food. So whenever we are talking, what are the two major sources of food? Plants and animals. And if I have to talk about plants, I understand crops, fruits, crops, no? And if I have to talk about animals, then we understand livestock. So can you give me 5 examples of livestock which serves as food? Chicken. Okay. Fish. Chicken. Fish. Okay. Fish is not exactly a livestock. Okay. Goat, cattle, pigs. Okay. So now that we are either they themselves can serve as food or they provide a large number of products, variety of products. No, if I talk about the cattle, the cow, buffaloes. Now these majorly may not be a source of food directly. Of course, they are a source of food for a very small group of people. But the products that they give rise to, the milk. From the milk, we get a variety of other products. So now we can say that yes, the cattle and the products of the cattle, very, very essential type of food. I talk about even the camel. I talk about again the goat. I talk about other different type of animals like the duck and the poultry. No, the turkey, the poultry, the duck. All these are also source of food themselves. At the same time, they provide two major sources of food like the meat and the eggs. So that way, when we are understanding livestock, crops, that is very simple to understand. Crops, variety of crops. Majority of these crops are good sources of minerals, vitamins, etc. No? So take that question that you will read. Take that question, read for yourself once and tell me if the answer is understood. Read for yourself once. Read the answer once. Understood?
Yes.
Did you understand the answer? Now we talk about efforts. What are some of the efforts? Efforts means we understand that why should the food production be more? Why should the food production be more? The food production should be more because the population is increasing. To satisfy the, now say suppose I talk about 20 years back, the production of food in our country was much lesser. But that was satisfying our country perhaps because the population was not that increasing. But if you come across in the last 20-30 years, the population has increased so many fold. And if the population has increased so many fold, then obviously we are understanding no, that there should be increase in the production of the food also manifold. Whatever amount of food, whatever amount of grains and vegetables and green leaves and nuts and oil and milk the country is producing 30 years back, 20 years back, will it satisfy today? No, it will not be satisfied today. So today the demand has increased, population size has increased even more. So that is why we are understanding that there has to be developed methods of farming. There has to be developed methods. So here we try to understand that what are some of the common efforts. What is the meaning of efforts here? Efforts means there are some areas where the agriculturists, the horticulturists, the livestock farming people, scientists, they have taken great interest to find out that which are some of the areas from where food sources can come for the population and how to increase the production, how to increase the amount of the grain and the milk and the meat and egg production. So what are some of those areas? We talk about some green revolution. What does green revolution refer to? Green revolution would refer to increase in the production of Plant food, especially we talk about the grains, we talk about the production of the grains and the crops and the vegetables. We talk about white revolution. What is white revolution? This is associated with the increase in the production of the milk. We talk about yellow revolution. Yellow revolution is associated with the production of oil. The various different type of seeds from where oil can be obtained. We talk about the soya bean seeds, we talk about the sunflower seeds, we talk about the sesame seeds, we talk about the mustard seeds, a variety of them. Then we talk about the golden revolution. What is it? Pulses, variety of different type of lentils and pulses. It's not there, golden revolution. It's there. Golden revolution. Then we talk about the blue revolution. What is blue revolution? Blue revolution is associated with the increase in the production of the seafood, fishes, variety of different type of fishes, and the seafood, variety of different type of clams, crabs, lobsters, all these. No, the production has to be increased. Now, solution for various problems. Now, read that again. In this chapter, variety of case studies are there, and you'll have to study it this way. What is the problem? If the problem is malnutrition and hunger, what is the solution? If the problem is malnutrition and hunger, what will the solution? What should the solution be? Increase the production of the food. You know, then the country is safe, the city is safe, the town is safe. Problem. If the problem is food availability and affordability and food security. Now, if the problem is that the people are not able to afford food, production is there, but affordability is not there. Maybe the price is so high. Why the price is at times higher when the production is less? So again, we have to talk about increase in production. Increase in the production, then only we can sell them at a lower price. Then even the people with the lower income group, they can afford the food. So that is what you have to understand. Take 5 questions from this part first. Then we move on to the next part. Take out your notebook. 5 questions. Number one. What is meant by green revolution? Mention what is meant by green revolution. Mention 5 food items that needs to have higher productivity. Mention 5 food items related to green revolution. Mention 5 food items that needs to have higher productivity to satisfy human needs. Higher productivity to satisfy human needs. Number 2.
5 food items that needs to have
higher productivity to satisfy human needs. Number 2. How can food security be a hindrance, or how can food security be a problem for human population? Number 3. Mention 3 methods how food production can be increased. Last one, number 5. Mention 2 major sources of food. Number 4. Mention two major sources of food. Mention 2 major sources of food. Mention 2 major sources of food and the process. Associated with increase in production. Process associated with increase in production. I'll give you 5 minutes to complete this answer. Answers are just what we discussed from the first one.
Associated with
food production. Increase in food production. Associated with increase in food production, yes. Associated with increase in food production. Answers which should not be more than 1 or 2 sentences. Karo fatakut, let's see. Read the question, understand what you are to write.
Cotton, wheat, rice, barley.
But that is not important.
First answer, what is it?
Evolution is a revolution.
What is the first question I gave you?
What is meant by great evolution? Mention 5 food items that lead to a higher production.
What is meant by great revolution? What will you write?
Great
The
methods to increase
food
grain production.
Production of food grains. The methods to increase production of food grains and crops. That is called green revolution. Now, after that, you will write down any 5 crops, grains of common consumption that you understand can satisfy human needs. 5 examples. So, which is the first example that you should write? Can you tell me? Rice, wheat. Increase in the production of rice, wheat. Some common crops like potatoes, cauliflower.
Remember, potato is not the grain.
No, here green revolution will include grains and crops all actually.
Okay.
Green revolution may greens crops. We can write pulses. See, common household, every common household would feed on what? Rice, roti, dal. That's a common food people would eat, no? So you have to write, when I ask you write 5 common examples, you have to remember, right, lentils, pulses, and rice and wheat. So these type of examples. Then first one is over. Let's go to the second. What is the second? First, second.
How can the food security be a problem for human population?
How can food security be a problem? What is it? What is food security? What do you understand? We have been talking about three conditions. Now, food availability. What was the second? Food affordability.
Yes.
Food availability है, food affordability है, and food security. Food security. When we are talking about food security, remember what is the meaning of food security? You know, when we
Secure food for the future.
secure food. Now, see, quite a number of times the food that is being produced in our agricultural lands are actually quite much more than what the population requires. So, what happens to the surplus food?
Yes.
It goes to the warehouses. Now, in the warehouses, quite a number of times they are not being taken care of properly. So, again, by the time the next year comes, and when there is already shortage of food in the dry months, what happens? Most of the food is eaten away by rodents. Most of the food is destroyed by fungus. या तो a large proportion of that food is been imported outside, exported outside at a very high cost. So वो चीज तो affordability में आ जाएगा when we are talking about the food security, right? And what is meant by food security? The preservation and storage. The preservation and storage of food. Preservation and storage of food in the right manner for future use. Is food security, or is known as food security, full stop. Many times, the surplus food are not well stored in the warehouses, and these leads to damages and loss. These leads to damages and loss.
Many times of this food is not
Well, it's not what I said. Well,
Many times the surplus food
is not stored in the right manner in the warehouses, comma, this this leads to damage and loss of food. This leads to damage and loss of food. Go to the next question. Third. Fast. Third क्या है?
mention three methods how food production can be increased.
Increase. What do you think? What are the three methods? We are going to learn in the later part of the chapter in detail. But according to you, now that we have already started talking about food production, कैसे food production increase हो सकता है?
By
Better method of agriculture, better methods of irrigation, and
more the land is stored, more the food.
making the land more and more fertile. Fertile. हाँ, so पहले तो land सबसे ज़्यादा fertile होना चाहिए. Then advanced method of agriculture, farming, and advanced method of irrigation भी होना चाहिए. Because if the water is too less, too more, or excess, then also it's a loss of crops. देखो, write on your own these three methods only as of now you should understand. Making the land fertile. Making the land fertile using manure, not fertilizer, that you should understand. Though that's a challenge, making the land fertile that way using manure, that's a challenge. But yes, that is what we have to try. Number two is apply advanced methods of agriculture. Number three, proper methods of irrigation. Now that is mostly I'm talking about crops, plant food. But I said how can food production be increased? So one or two methods. Let us write about livestock also. Livestock के लिए क्या करेंगे? How to increase production of food from that area?
Breeding.
Breeding. The correct methods of breeding or use process of cross breeding.
Cross breeding is not good for animals.
No, cross breeding is not good, but by the method of cross breeding, we can get better varieties. Better, or the production can be more. We are now talking about production increase. So, what can be other methods? Proper care of the animals. Keep them disease free. Keep them disease free. Maintain. Take proper care of livestock. Proper care of livestock should be taken. Proper care of livestock should be taken by keeping them disease free. They should be disease free, then only higher the production. Okay. So the process of breeding, what are the developed methods of breeding or how their production or during the cycles of breeding, I talk about the livestock, poultry, the process of breeding for the poultry and the fish and the other different type of cattle, not the same. So during the breeding process, what care should these animals require? So that also has to be understood. So at least 3-4 minutes. What is the next question?
Mention two major sources of food and the process associated with the increase.
Two sources of food. If I have to talk about plant food. No. Here not the examples. I'm not asking you example. Two major sources of food are what? Two major sources of food. Plants and animals, or livestock and crops. So when I talk about plant food, crops, what is that process of increasing production of crops called? Agriculture. And when I say livestock, animals, what is the process of increasing production of animal food called? Animal husbandry. Animal husbandry. So before the first part of the answer is the two main sources of food are crops and livestock. Plant food, animal food. Crops and livestock. And the respective processes and the respective processes that increase the production are agriculture and animal husbandry. Agriculture and animal husbandry. Okay. Now next move on to this table, page 142. Move on to this table, page 142 there. Now we talk about the scientific management practices. Okay. Now when we are talking about scientific management practices, here we are understanding that can anybody start the process of agriculture? Is it that easy? No, it is not easy. Because today if I start, if I try growing some flowers also in my windowsill, most of the time they may not grow the plants. Why? Why will the plants most of the time not grow? Because I first of all don't have any thorough knowledge about what type of plants to grow in what type of soil. I don't know season, which type of plants to grow in which type of season, which type of plant should be giving what type of manure. So if a person, and water, I may think that this plant will flourish if every day I put 2 mugs of water, the soil should be full of water. But every plant does not need so much of water. Some plants get rotten if you put too much of water. Some plants require so much of water. So all this knowledge the agriculturists have. Person who is working with the plants, flowers, fruits, they have a basic, thorough knowledge about all this. That's the reason they are able to grow plants. Same with animals. So let us talk about plants first. Scientific management practices for improvement in crop yield. That is what we are going to study now. The first that we are talking about is the food value. What is the meaning of food value? What type of nutrients or substances every type of a food gives us. Now this we'll learn from the table itself. See there, cereals. You know what are cereals? Cereals means the different type of dals majorly that we eat. No, cereals when we are talking about. I may talk about the different type of pulses, cereals. So when we are talking about cereals, majorly we talk about the grains and the pulses, wheat, rice, barley, bajra, the common ones that we have in our homes that we consume, people consume. And apart from that, we also may talk about the second condition, the second category, pulses. Look into some examples. I'll ask you to write after some time. Pulses. What are some of the common pulses? See there, gram, pea, then black gram. We talk about the green gram, the pigeon pea, and the lentils. And what are they majorly rich in? If I talk about all this variety of pulses, proteins. They are basically rich in proteins. And now that we have been talking about the maize and the rice and the wheat, what are they basically rich in? Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Come to the next one. When we are talking about the category of crops, oil seeds, which are the most common oil that we generally buy. I think commonly people, we all consume oil which are generally extracted from either the sunflower seeds or the soya bean seeds or the mustard seeds. So these are the most common that you'll come across in households or the sesame seeds. So when we are talking about this, what are we coming across? From this variety of seeds, a large amount of the oil can be extracted, which are also now used in our food. But what is the oil basically rich in? Fats. The oil that we consume, variety of vegetable oil that we talk about, fats. Fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, you know, any number of examples. You can talk about the grapes, the pineapple, the orange, the apples. But majorly, what type of nutrients do they contain? Vitamins and minerals. And a small amount of sugar, of course, no? So when we are talking about vitamins and minerals, majorly there. Spices. Do you know all the spices? Clove, do you know clove? What is clove known as in Hindi? Lava, correct. Cardamom, what is it called? Cardamom? Good. And then chilies, you know. Cinnamon, what is it? Cinnamon? Dalchini. Dalchini, cinnamon. And then pepper, nutmeg. Pepper, you know. Nutmeg, you know what is nutmeg? It is like a big elaichi, which we use for no biryanis and all. With a straw, huh? Black, yeah, black, brownish, dark brown also, dark brown or this one. So nutmeg. These are used for making all those different type of exotic dishes, no? Then next is the spices. And what are the spices majorly meant for? Why do we use spices? Are they very, very rich in minerals and vitamins? No. Basically flavor. Basically flavoring the food and little bit of vitamins. That's it. Vitamins and minerals. That not majorly a type of carbohydrate. So it is written here, carbohydrate, proteins and fats. But don't write these examples in your exam as if you are asked, write 3.
भाई जो ऑलरेडी को किराया करता तो तेरे को सिखाते थे
वो हो चुका है बहुत वो जो है पीछे वाला
Okay, so what we were talking about, okay, what I said is you are asked in your exam write 5 food sources rich in carbohydrate. Don't write at that time spices because they have got minimal cereals at that time you're supposed to write. Because they have got minimal amount. Fodder crops, underline, tick that. That majorly you get questions on the definition part. Fodder crops, underline that word, leguminous. Now, just try to understand here. I'm talking about a type of a plant. Maybe now I talk about the pea plants. Look into the roots of the pea plant. The roots of the pea plant are basically fibrous roots like this. And these type of roots have special characteristics. You know what? They have got some nodules on their roots. On the fibrous roots, they have got nodules. What are these root nodules? These root nodules are nothing but the colonies of bacteria. And these are basically known as the nitrogen fixing bacteria. These are known as what? Nitrogen fixing bacteria. So these are specialized plants which can trap the nitrogen of the atmosphere into the soil and convert them into nitrates. And these nitrates are now soluble in the water and again utilized by the plants. And the plants again utilize the soluble form of nitrogen in the form of nitrate. Can the plants utilize this molecular nitrogen by the way of leaves? No, they cannot. So such type of plants, the legumes, the pea plants, the bean plants, such type of plants are known as leguminous plants. Then what is the answer? What are leguminous plants? Plants which are capable of trapping the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates, converting atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates. This you will learn in detail in the nitrogen cycle. You study later. So this type of plants, what type of examples I gave you right now? I gave you example majorly of the pea. There are many such like this, pea and the bean and all this. So these type of plants which can trap atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates, because the plants can utilize nitrogen as nitrates only, which remain dissolved in the water. So this type of plants are called leguminous plants, also called fodder crops. Because now that the seeds are taken away, now that say suppose I talk about a field of pea plants. The seeds, you know the pea seed, no? Green color cover is there and inside the seeds are there. So abhi harvest season ho gaya. They have already plucked up all the pea seeds gone. What will happen to this? And these are small size plants, these are not tall plants, small size plants. What will happen to these plants? These plants now will be collected, a good feed for the cattle. Because these are fibrous, extensively fibrous plants. These are a good feed for the cattle. Hence, they are called what? Fodder. Fodder means what? Food for the cattle. So these are the best type of cattle feed because these are fibrous plants. Take that word. Leguminous plants. And the last category we talk about is beverages. What are beverages? The common beverages that we drink would be tea and coffee, etc. No? So tea and coffee, when we are talking about what do they contain? Actually, the tea and coffee that we consume, does it have enough of nutrients in them? No, rather they have got some chemical substances which we may get addicted to, something known as the caffeine. Okay, but then still, why do we drink? I think in most households, tea and coffee is always there. No, sometime or the other, we drink tea and coffee. But are we to drink tea and coffee almost about 5 to 6 times a day? No, because it is not a very nutritive drink. It is not a nutritive drink. But yes, once or twice a day is okay because it stimulates our nerves. Whenever, say suppose, whenever you are drowsy and sleepy, if you take a half cup of tea or coffee, you again become active, energized. Why does that happen? Because I was almost falling asleep. And now I take 2 sips of coffee. What has happened? This coffee, which is nothing but a chemical substance, of course, from the plants, has gone and it has activated my nerves, stimulants. But if a person is consuming 5, 6, 10 cups of coffee and tea in a day, this person normally will not fall asleep at night. Or the duration of sleep will become too small, too short. So should we be sleeping at least about 6 to 7 hours a day, or should we be sleeping only 1 to 2 hours a day? 6 to 7 hours. Now, if I say that a person says that no, I can very well manage with 1 to 2 hours of sleep, is that good enough? No, obviously there is an effect that will happen in the person's body long time after a long particular period of time. This person is sure to have. Provided conditions are different. Now, if I'm talking about a person who is constantly working in the office and etc., no proper food, and on top of that, because of tea and coffee, he is not able to sleep for 6 to 7 hours. Of course, this person is going to have some major health related issues later. But I may talk about some other individual, maybe that other individual is already on a healthy diet. And this person now, because of his work, he may not get 8 hours of sleep every day, only 3 hours of sleep, but still that person may be able to survive better because this person has a lot of exercise and yoga and healthy food. Then he can still manage with 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Understood? So when I say the caffeine and the tea and the coffee, they act as stimulants. Now, take certain questions from this part. I'll write it down on the board. And then this next part I'll start. This is a more explanatory part. This I'll take up in the next class. Correct. The next part of the chapter, what did we discuss now? We were talking about certain type of food nutrients and what type of examples, nutrients and examples. That is what you are to understand now. Understand now. Write down. Take on the questions first, huh? Then you start answering. If you don't complete, you may complete it as homework.
The major types of nutrients are
Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Earlier, you're not missing your Vashi friends. But it's actually missing.
because there were like many people. There were many students
There were many.
compared to the system.
But here also, there were, how many are there?
Six.
Six actually. Within six or within seven?
Between six.
Six. There 2 more has come.
So now they are like 11.
2 more, 2 more has come.
They are like 10 or 11. Your question is mentioned, right? Any 2 examples of protein deficiency. We can write pulses and meat.
Milk, egg, meat, gram, pulses. Done, you know the answers? One and 2 होगा?
Yes, ma'am.
Third क्या है?
Why are seeds like groundnuts as
Because they are a rich source of oil. They are a rich source of oil. Groundnut, sunflower, soybean. These are some of the most common seeds which have high demand and high production of mustard seeds. I'm sorry, mustard seeds also. Groundnut and mustard, both of the same category. What is common in gram, pea, ground, nuts and chickpea?
They are all pulses.
They are all pulses. Is it written in the source of pulses? Examples of pulses?
Chickpea.
Achha, no, but chickpea also. These are given in which category they? Achha, in your book they are given as pulses. Okay. But what is common in gram, groundnut?
They are high in protein.
Rich in protein. All these are sources of protein. Protein rich food they are. Protein rich food. Plant food rich in protein. फटाफट number 5 complete करो. Write down the answer. I'll give you this. Number 5. What are leguminous plants?
Fodder crops are known as plant legumes.
I'll give you the answer. Right? What are leguminous plants? Write down. What are leguminous plants? Write down. Plants which has root nodules, nodules. Plants which has root nodules to fix atmospheric nitrogen. To fix atmospheric nitrogen and convert them. To fix atmospheric nitrogen and convert them into nitrates. Convert them into nitrates are known as leguminous plants or fodder crops. Are known as leguminous plants or fodder crops. Got that? Right? Did you write down the answer? Yes. Give one example. One example of leguminous: pea, beans, oats. Yes. Write one example. Last one, number 6. What to write there? Number 6.
Being used to just consume like
Tea, coffee.
yes.
Okay. So we wind up here today with this. We'll continue again with this chapter next class.
मैंने वार्षिक किया
निकल रही
इसके मुझे लगता छोड़ी
तबीयत ठीक नहीं है ना आपकी? आपके पेरेंट का फोन आया तो घर को घर पे मिला है। हाँ
भैया जो आज जो यूटीएस का टॉपिक है ना वो मैंने वार्षिक में था ना तभी उस यूट्यूब में
आपको बैठना है तो बैठ सकते हो, ऐसा कुछ
हो गया तो क्लास